about this morning. What products did you use? Did you use any lotion? Any deodorant? Close your eyes, keep closing your eyes. If for those of you who use makeup like I do, did you use mascara, foundation, lipstick? And what about for styling your hair? Did you use any hairspray or gel? Now open your eyes. How many of us answered yes to some of these questions? If so, how many of us know if our cosmetic products are free from animal cruelty?
Hearing some of the things that Jen talked about, you still might not think that this pertains to you. What exactly constitutes as a cosmetic product? Defined by the Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act, it is any product intended to be rubbed, poured, sprinkled, sprayed, introduced into, or otherwise applied to the human body for cleansing, beautifying, and promoting attractiveness. Examples of these cosmetics are lotions, perfumes, lipsticks, nail polishes, eye and facial makeup, as well as shampoos and deodorants.
Hello everyone, I'm Alexia Arellano. This is
Mejia.
Ananya.
and we hope to give you the tools to be a more conscious consumer when you're out shopping for these types of products. Hopefully by the end of this presentation you will have the tools and information necessary to do so.
We handed out a survey in relation to our topic, and we asked one very important question. If certain animals should be tested on, what animals should they be? Can you guys take a guess at what that answer was? Mice, I hear mice. Correct. Surprisingly enough, most of the answers that we did receive said that the animals that we should test on are mice and rats. But unfortunately, we fail to remember that they are just like us. Ananya, how are they similar to us?
Like Jenny said, we always forget that mice are mammals just like us. If we were ever to mention animal testing on cats or dogs, I would imagine that would create a nationwide riot. And that's because according to the HumaneSociety.org, here in the US we have over 164 million pet cats and dogs. However, something that is normal in animal testing is testing on mice and other small rodents. But why is that? Is it because they're smaller? Is it because they're not as cute as our pet dogs or cats? Or is it simply because they don't have feelings? Did you know research done by the Cruelty Free International and Dr. Hadwin Fuss suggested that over 115 million animals are tested on every year worldwide? And in the US alone, over 800 laboratories go unregulated because they only test on mice and other small rodents. Like I mentioned earlier, mice are mammals just like us, and they have very similar nervous systems. They feel the same physiological and psychological pain that we do. While mice don't live nearly as long as us, they feel all the same emotions that we do. They can feel happiness, and they communicate in very high frequencies that we can't hear with our human ears, but they form relationships with one another. They have a sense of families with their young and mates, and at the same time they feel the pain of anxiety, depression, loneliness, and the loss of loved ones. Keeping them in cages and instilling the fear and anxiety in them while they don't know what's going to happen to them can put a lot of stress on their little bodies. The complete lack of environmental enrichment and their stress can cause them to develop neurotic types of behavior, such as incessantly spinning in circles, biting themselves, rocking back and forth, and pulling at their own fur. They shake and cower when someone approaches because they're so scared, and their blood pressure can spike. Thousands of mice, rats, and rabbits, guinea pigs, die and suffer every year in the United States alone. As a result, the lifespan of these little creatures can decrease dramatically.
One thing that we do want to emphasize on are the cruel traditional testing methods that may still be used today. You may be wondering what types of tests do these animals undergo and what are the effects of them? How are they so cruel? Let me explain. There is a wide range of testing done on animals. However, we would like to focus on 3 traditional methods that do test on animals in such a cruel way. First is the LD50, which is conducted to examine oral toxicity. This test forcibly feeds chemicals to animals, which may cause organ damages. Mice and rats are commonly used in this testing, and due to the forceful amounts of chemicals, they do suffer organ damages, like I have mentioned, plus more internal damages. Other effects vary from brain damage due to the withholding of food and water, and sometimes they do suffer from broken body parts, specifically necks, since they are kept in a very restraining device. These tests are done to test for products such as deodorants and hairsprays. Second, according to Animal Testing and Cosmetic Industry, which was written by Kelly McNeil, the DRACE test is cruelly conducted to test if a product causes injury to the human eye. The less severe injury to the human eye is irritation, but it can go as damaging as corrosion to the human eye. The DRACE test is the most commonly used traditional method, and the test typically tests on rabbits because they have very low tear ducts. The procedure of this test goes a little something like this. The rabbits are held in a restraining device, and their eyes are usually kept open with large clips. One of the eyes tested on, chemicals are dropped into the eye, and the other is left open and untested on to act as a control variable, just to measure the damages done to these poor rabbits. The rabbit's eyes usually suffer from this very cruel testing, and the test typically lasts from a period of 72 hours to the longest period of 18 days. Not to mention, no anesthetics are involved. The effect of this type of testing is severe. Rabbits may suffer from swollen eyelids to blindness, and from inflammation of the iris to ulcerated corneas, which, not to mention, is the most sensitive body part of the animal. These tests are conducted for products such as cosmetics and toiletries. Lastly, according to the Humane Society, rabbits are used in a harsh manner to test for sensitization, irritation, and for the potency that may be hazardous in cosmetic products. The procedure to this type of testing goes like this. Chemicals are applied to the shaven bodies of rabbits, which causes bleeding scabs, inflammation of the skin, and also burning of the skin and itching. Additionally, some animals may be used repetitively as a mixture of these traditional methods plus many more.
Companies that do this include companies that we see on a regular basis, such as L'Oreal, Johnson & Johnson, SC Johnson, Procter & Gamble. The list actually goes on because a lot of these large mainstream corporations tend to support animal testing. Now, it's incredibly strange that they would continue to do so because in today's modern world, there is alternatives. Now, alternatives can vary from computer quantitative programs to other methods. The first of which is, again, quantitative computer programs. Now, basically the way this works is that there are first and foremost, they use a new chemical that they run up against. This chemical is then put into a system, and then later it is processed and compared to other past chemicals. Now, this system actually helps them compare the chemical structure. So chemicals that are structured in a similar manner are actually more likely to be just as troublesome. So not only are we learning from that there are chemicals that we can use that are completely safe, but knowing these safe chemicals actually gives us a better reference for the newer chemicals we come across. Now, in the article New Models in Cosmetics, they pointed out that this is the method used mainly by pharmaceutical companies and regulatory agencies. It's typically done because it is logical and easy, because after all, they are just simply running it up against databases and then later comparing it. Now, this is actually very useful for a number of things because it can actually be used in a conjunction with other types of alternatives, such as in vitro. Now, in vitro, or test tube methods, is the use of cells in a test tube as opposed to using the entire live specimen, which is what you see in vivo methods, such as the RISE test and the LD50. All of those are in vivo. But in vitro actually opens up a world of opportunities because it is based off of cells. So not only do they have other animals to reference, not necessarily just rats and rabbits, but we could actually include human cells in the referencing test tubes. Because after all, these cells are in a controlled variable that is the environment inside the test tube. Now, this is incredibly helpful because not only do we get to see the possibilities of said chemical interacting with human cells, but according to an article in Nature Medicine, this has already been used to test about 300 chemicals, mostly pesticides, to determine which of them actually change the metabolic pathways of cells. Metabolic pathways, by the way, are just the chemical reactions that occur within your cells. And this in vitro method is incredibly useful for determining that. But sometimes they are put into some sort of conjunction, which you could see for the EpiSkin. Now, EpiSkin is probably the most well-known in vitro method, and basically it's the reconstruction of the human epithelium. The epithelium, by the way, is the outer surface of the body, so that includes the skin and the very layer underneath it. Now, because it's the complete reconstruction of the epithelium, they actually compare it using the quantitative programs, and they test it at the same time. That way they actually know what is causing corrosion, and also they can predict what similar chemicals would cause that similar corrosion. Now, clearly the options are there. We know of them, and taking advantage of them is actually better for the scientific community because it actually inspires innovation as opposed to just staying with animals. But again, the options are there, and because people, all of us, want to be safe with our products, we might actually wonder, are these substances and are these testing methods actually viable? Ananya, are they viable?
That's a very good question. How viable are these methods anyway? If all of our big companies are still testing on animals and not using any of these methods, then how can we be sure that they're viable? Companies can ensure their products are safe by simply using products that have been tested before. We don't need to do any more new testing if we've already tested the products and are using ingredients that are known to be safe. Companies also have the option of using non-animal testing or developing new methods, like the ones that Alexia talked about, to test for new ingredients. Because of this, it wouldn't be hard for us to get rid of animal testing in cosmetics at all. Last year, a bill was introduced to the House called the Humane Cosmetics Act, and it is sponsored by Representatives Martha McSally, Don Mayer, and Joe Heck. And it will make this thing of the past. It will prohibit animal testing in cosmetics in the United States. You can help us get this bill passed by going to the petitionsite.com and sign your name to be a part of this bill. Today, many well-known companies have already taken the initiative and have completely eliminated animal testing from their company's use. Companies like this include Paul Mitchell, Maybelline, and The Body Shop. And if you're ever in doubt of whether or not the company is cruelty-free or not, you can visit the PETA website to search for the products that you need. There are over 2,000 brands included in their database, so you don't have to worry about not being able to find something that you need.
Thank you. Now, as for the logos, now, some of you may be wondering, this is all fine and well, but of course I have very limited time and I don't necessarily have time to research a bunch of products beforehand, and that is absolutely understandable. So one way to shop consciously and still do it in a timely manner is to actually learn the different logos. Now, all of these logos are among the most trusted in the cruelty-free community. example is the Leaping Bunny logo. It's from the CCF Cruelty Leaping Bunny organization, and it's actually one of the most respected ones because it actually goes international. So this includes, any products you might be getting from a different country, and they're cruelty free, this most likely is the logo that they'd be using. Now, we all heard of PETA. The PETA is the Organization for Animal Rights, and they actually have a logo as well, and it's also very reputable. It's the pink bunny heart you see on right here. It's either this one or this one, because they are different versions of it, but just keep an eye out for the pink heart ears. And PETA is actually particularly interesting for this logo, because not only do you have to be cruelty-free, but you actually have to take a pledge that you will continue to be cruelty-free. And that's actually that actually kind of helps give them a sense of credibility for the future, because they are backed by PETA. Now, this last logo is by the Australian Organization of Cruelty-Free, the Committee of Cruelty-Free. It's an Australian organization, so it is kind of less likely that you would run up against this one, but it is still very likely that if you do see it, it is also incredibly reputable. To get this logo, you must be cruelty-free for at least 5 years or never. And the reason why it takes so long is because, of course, some companies take a while to transition, but again, this is kind of to give you a better idea. So that way when you run off to Target, Walmart, wherever it is you buy your products, you can just keep an eye out for these logos as opposed to doing the research beforehand if you don't have the time to do so. But if you're more tech savvy, you do have other options. There are mobile apps available. Of course, there's an app for everything nowadays, so of course you're gonna see a cruelty-free app. This is the Bunny Free. It is by Leaping Bunny Organization, and Cruelty Free, which is by, Bunny Free is by PETA, and Cruelty Free is by the Leaping Bunny. Again, the way these apps work is that they run against a multitude of databases, probably most likely from the respective organization, and it can tell you whether or not this company is considered cruelty-free at the moment. And to add to that, there is Jenny.
And I will be concluding this presentation by saying, let's start today to make an effort to use cosmetic products more consciously. Together, we can help replace animal testings with alternative methods like those that we have mentioned. We can reduce the use of animals, and we can refine the animal use practices altogether. Together, we can stop cruelty behind animal testing, and we can do so by supporting the labels as such that Alexia and my group have presented. So that in the future, when you're getting ready in the morning, we can jumpstart our day by making a change by using cosmetic products more consciously. Together, we can redefine the price of beauty into a beautiful one.